What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you guys through my very own team selection for the upcoming Double Game Week 22. So the FA Cup games have concluded, the League Cup semi-finals have concluded, a big blank Game Week 25 confirmation has now come about, and I'll be detailing that before we go over my transfer plan. Now Game Week 21 feels like it's been forever ago, a 2-week break between Game Week 21 and Game Week 22, but please remember that Friday night deadline might be afternoon, might be morning, wherever you guys are around the world. But please make sure that you guys have your teams locked in, but we will be doing a deadline stream to remind you guys. So as with every team selection, I'm going to take a quick look at Game Week 21, see how the squad got on, where we currently are in the overall ranks, then I'll shift my attention to the transfer plan before going on to the Game Week 22 team selection. So that's something you guys are interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So first taking a look at the Game Week 21 squad and how we got on. Don't worry, I won't be going over this in too much depth. If you guys want to go over an in-depth analysis, I did that in the transfer plan that I released a couple of days ago. So bottom right hand side, unfortunately a little bit of a red arrow from Game Week 21. I think it was about 6k places, so we're currently sitting at 255k. Now we do have 2 free transfers and 0.4 in the bank at the bottom right hand side, and I'll be discussing how I'm going to be using probably both of them going to Double Game Week 22. So before we get onto the actual team, drop it in the comments down below. Where did you guys score at for Game Week 21? Was it a good game week? Was it a bad game week? And how's that overall rank looking? So starting off on our bench, as that's a very good place to start, the big kind of benching dilemma of Game Week 21 was Luke Shaw versus Ben White. Luckily, both of them scored the exact same points, 0 points that is. So whether you started the United defender or the Arsenal defender, you got equally unlucky. At least we were on the better side of the goalkeeper dilemma. Wasn't too much of a dilemma to be honest, but it was a little bit of a debate to go for. Danny Ward versus Kepa. Luckily I started Kepa for his 9 points. Going on to the rest of our backline, Nathan Ake got subbed on at halftime against Wolves. City keeping their clean sheet, but obviously Ake not getting those points, which is quite frustrating. We then have Luke Shaw, already spoke about him, and we have Trippier with 8 points, so yet again showing that he is a bonus point magnet, and that's all down to those set pieces. Going on to midfield department, we got De Bruyne, who finally got us an attacking return, only 1 assist though, which is a little bit disappointing when Man City did score 3 goals, but he might actually be on the way out in our transfer plan. We then have Rashford and Anthony. Rashford continuing this kind of Prem scoring streak, so no complaints there, whereas with Anthony, hasn't lived up to the hype when I brought him in, and definitely am regretting that transfer. Finally, Mason Mount, that we got word on that was going to start, as Chelsea vs Liverpool was the first game of the game week, but he seems to be really mediocre this season. And then finally, Martinelli is going through a little bit of a rough patch of form, only the 2-point appearance, as all the other Arsenal attackers are absolutely loving life. Then finally going on to our forward line, we got Erling Haaland, scored a Hattie after I triple captained him, but I guess that is how it is sometimes in FPL. And then also have Harry Kane, who managed to get 6 points. So overall, looking at the kind of squad, we had some low performers. Yeah, I was quite frustrated with the Nathan Ake kind of benching, but then we also had a lot of Arsenal versus United assets, and obviously they face each other. So overall, not the worst game week in the world, but definitely not the best. I never like to say kind of a red arrow is going to be a good game week. So let's hope that in the future we can get some more greens. Let me know how you guys got on for Game Week 21 though. So I mentioned this in the introduction to this video, but thanks to the League Cup semi-finals being concluded, we now have our League Cup final, which is going to be United versus Newcastle, and that's going to happen in Game Week 25. So United and Newcastle obviously have blank game weeks, and their respective fixtures are going to be on screen right now. So the first fixture we're going to focus on is going to be the United versus Brentford fixture. That's going to now be a blank game week in Game Week 25, and that obviously holds a lot of weight now that we are looking to triple up on these United assets for Double Game Week 22. So just keep that in mind when you do look at your future plan, that your triple up will probably blank in 25, as will your Newcastle or your Brighton assets. So Brighton travelling to Newcastle is going to be a blank fixture in Game Week 25, and if you like myself wanting to bring in Matoma, that might put you off that transfer. But luckily though, blank Game Week 25 is a relatively small game week. Yes, it does have some kind of repercussions. United, Newcastle, Brighton, we own those assets, but with the free transfers between now and then, you should be able to deal with it. But I just want to put this out there for those of you that have been living under a rock, please prepare for blank Game Week 25. Now before we get on to the actual transfer plan, I want to give you guys some context of what I'm currently dealing with for the upcoming game week. I'm going to go through the squad that I currently have very quickly, just to show you guys the background on my transfers. So 2 free transfers, 0.4 in the bank. Going to start off with the bench. I've got Nathan Ake on the bench, which is kind of the only big talking point. I just think Spurs at home is a tougher game than hosting them at the Etihad, and that's why when you look at the rest of my defense, it makes sense why I'm benching Ake. Talking about the defense, going for Kepa over Danny Ward, just don't trust Leicester at the moment, and Chelsea with their new signings might have a little bit of a bounce at Stamford Bridge. We then have Ben White, Luke Shaw and Trippier who all picked themselves. Now you guys can see why I'm benching Nathan Ake. Then moving on to midfield department, De Bruyne against Spurs. I mean, if they do replicate the form they had in the previous game, I should be happy, but just remember that De Bruyne was benched in that one. We then have Rashford and Anthony, definitely happy with Rashford, not with Anthony, and I'll be looking to ship him out in our transfer plan. Then finally we have Mason Mount against Fulham. Now I've seen some predicted lineups about Chelsea. Obviously with all these new signings, Mason Mount might be out the squad, but currently some people are predicting him to start at the 10, which I'll be pretty happy with. Now Fulham at home is a relatively great game, newly promoted side. Yes, they're not the worst newly promoted side, but if you can see Chelsea scoring a few in this one. Then finally we have Martinelli, who's a little bit of a dilemma at the moment. I also want to bring in kind of Ben White here because these two options might suffer some rotation. Tomiyasu for Ben White has been performing pretty well, and the new signing of Trossard might kind of hinder Martinelli's minutes. But right now, I'm willing to keep both of these two assets. Everton away, too good of a fixture. The rotation isn't there at the current moment, and therefore it might just be a rumour. And then finally going to our forward line, Erling Haaland against Spurs away. Man City can perform against anyone, and Haaland can score against anyone. But if I don't captain him, hopefully he does stay quiet in Game Week 22. Then finally we have Harry Kane. I do actually think that Harry Kane has to score against Man City for that transfer to work out worth it. As at his expensive price point, even though he is consistent, he's not getting these massive hauls. So as you guys can see, the starting 11 is looking okay, not the best in the world. I do think that Antony is probably the player I want to take out. As with Sancho back in training and actually featuring last night in the League Cup game, I think his minutes are under threat. So now having seen the context of how our current team is looking for double Game Week 22, let's go over my transfer plan with 2 free transfers. Now the first transfer I want to actually do is going to be taking Antony out. This will obviously be to kind of incorporate another United attacker, and that's going to be Bruno Fernandes at his more expensive price point. Now for me, Bruno's the second best option to get in. I think Rashford's obviously the first one, so if you guys don't own Rashford, please bring him in first, but Bruno's definitely a close second. Has had great form since the World Cup has kind of ended, and with some lovely fixtures coming up for United, I still want to stay on that side. Now yes, it might be slightly sideways, but I just think Bruno's a better option than Antony, and that's going to be worth that free transfer. Now because of his more expensive price tag, comes in at 9.9 currently as I'm recording this video, I need about 2 million to upgrade Antony. Now the next 2 transfers are going to be possible scenarios to actually get those funds. The first one's going to be downgrading Mason Mount. Yes, he does have that Fulham at home game, but I am slightly worried with all these new signings, is Mason Mount even going to start? So downgrading Mason Mount to Matoma could be a move that I go for. Was really keen on this move, but now that Brighton blank, might be put off it slightly. But the only thing that's holding me on is the form of Brighton, the form of Matoma, and also those lovely fixtures coming up. So Bournemouth at home, Crystal Palace away, and Fulham at home on paper. I think those are some of the best fixtures in the Prem at the moment. And that's why with Brighton looking red hot, I might jump on Matoma anyways. So this is going to be one transfer that I could actually make. And I think the big thing is if I bank these transfers up until the deadline and we get news that Mason Mount's benched, then I will side for this transfer. But obviously with price rises happening tonight, they could be quite aggressive. And that's why I might be forced to make a decision before the deadline. Now if I don't want to take out Mason Mount, maybe I think he's going to start or something like that, or I want to kind of change my formation. Another transfer that I could consider is slightly more drastic. That drastic transfer is going to be taking out the Ginger Prince, Kevin De Bruyne, and downgrading him to another asset. Now there's been some talks about kind of Kevin De Bruyne's minutes, obviously benched in that Spurs at home game, which is a little bit surprising, but I do think he should be nailed for the upcoming game weeks. Now if I was to take out De Bruyne, I'd obviously want to complete that Man City triple up still, as they do double in Game Week 23. But I think if I was to take out De Bruyne this week, I would replace him with Bukayo Saka from Arsenal, as I do like that Everton away game. Saka obviously also doubles next game week. That Man City vs Arsenal game is going to be the double game week, and Arsenal also looking really good. So I think that Saka is a really natural transfer to bring in for that double game week 23, and I do think I have priority on him over one of the other Man City midfielders. Now I want to quickly divert from this transfer plan and talk about next week, because if I do downgrade De Bruyne, I still want to get 3 Man City options, and therefore the move next week will be Mason Mount out and Riyad Mahrez will probably be the transfer in. Now I think the big thing about downgrading De Bruyne is, do you guys think that Mahrez is as equal or better of an option as De Bruyne? I guess he could be slightly worse because he is quite cheaper, but still I think it's kind of De Bruyne versus Mahrez at the current moment, and I do prefer Mahrez if I was to only choose one. So this is literally the only reason why I would downgrade De Bruyne, is because it does allow me to still get 3 Man City options with the free transfer before Game Week 23. Now what I could actually do is, if I want to go for this move, I could just make it a -4 this week if we do get news that Mason Mount's going to be benched for that Fulham game. But in terms of these 2 transfer plans, I'm kind of deliberating between these 2. I think both of them are equal going to Game Week 25. Obviously the blank game week, you have to look forward to that move. The only thing you might consider is that I would keep Matoma past Game Week 25, and therefore might have one less player going into that blank game week. But still, pretty equal in terms of the blank game week options, same amount of transfers going into that game week. So really it comes down to Mahrez versus De Bruyne and keeping Bruno Fernandes past Game Week 22. But you guys can let me know in the comments down below. Before I show you the team selection, let me know which transfer plan you guys agree with, or is there another kind of route that you would take? Maybe bring in Nketiah in as the 3rd Arsenal attacker. That could also be a plan I could look at. You guys can also let me know in the comments down below on my Discord server if you have any questions about your own transfer plans. And if you just want to share them with us, drop them in the comments down below. So now heading on to our team selection for the upcoming game week, and I haven't chosen between the 2 transfer plans I just showed you, so I want to show you guys both setups and how they would look. So right now on screen you can see my full starting 11. I'm not going to kind of go through position by position. Rewind if you guys have skipped to this point. But let's go over my actual team selections. So in terms of my transfer plans, the one move that was super consistent was going to be Anthony out for Bruno Fernandes. So I'm going to pencil that move in right now. I haven't updated the budget, but don't worry, I know that I need some funds, and that's why it's going to be between Mason Mount and Kevin De Bruyne. So let's go over the first transfer plan. Mason Mount out. We're going to bring Matoma in here for the lovely Bournemouth at home game, and also with the team selection if I do go for that first transfer plan. Obviously, keeping De Bruyne against Spurs, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Who kind of knows? Let's just hope if we do keep him, he does start against Spurs. Currently, I've got the captaincy on Rashford, but that's up for debate. You guys have known throughout this week I've been pumping the kind of Bruno Fernandes captain, and I definitely can see myself swaying there before the deadline. But right now, let's go conservative, let's go safe. We can talk about that in the deadline stream tomorrow. I'll put the armband on Rashford. So reversing that transfer, let's bring Mason Mount back into the team, and now if we go for the other transfer plan, it will be De Bruyne out for Bukayo Saka. So on screen right now, you guys will see the move, and obviously this depends if Mason Mount is going to start. If he doesn't start, I could go for the first plan. If he doesn't start as well, I could go for Mahrez in this week for a -4 hit. So in terms of double game week 22, it really comes down to, do I think that kind of Saka versus De Bruyne? What's the debate there? I think they probably have a chance of scoring equal points, but Saka might slightly be edging him. And then it really comes down to De Bruyne versus Mahrez from game week 23 onwards. I guess the thing about keeping De Bruyne is that if I do want to bring in a Mo Salah in the future, he's an easier switch. But then again, why would I want to bring any Liverpool assets in, as they simply are playing terribly? So between these two transfer plans right now, I think I might be slightly leaning towards the De Bruyne out transfer. I think it gives me some more flexibility, some better options in the midfield department. And I think I might want to keep Bruno from game week 22 onwards, as United have some lovely fixtures coming up. But you guys can let me know what you think. Which transfer plan do you think is better? Or do you think there might be another move that I haven't even considered, like taking Haaland out for Nketiah or something mad like that? But so let's wrap the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the deadline stream coming up tomorrow, 1 hour before the deadline, where we'll be going over my final transfers. But I'm signing off, Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.